All right, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and introduce this lovely lady that you see on screen right now. We got a
Oh,
couple.
it's me.
Yeah, it's you, and I'm gonna definitely hide the camera that's doubled up on here. But guys, this is Lisa Foyles. Well, allow me to make this a little bit more formal, guys. Allow me to introduce to you a good friend of mine who we've worked with on one video. I would have to say, perhaps more in the future and stuff like that. Um, Lisa has been have been circulating the news lately with her dramatic return to all that, and where she's been a part of for quite some time. And definitely her biggest thing is, and I've got it right here, what I'm a big fan of, is her book, Ash Ridley and the Phoenix, which is what we're going to talk about again. Which we're going to talk about today. But Lisa, welcome on board. I'm
Michael, thank you for having me on your live stream.
yeah.
I actually like kind of got to sleep in this morning, so I'm just like I woke up. I usually have to wake up at like 5 or 6 or 4, some ungodly hour because my children.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
today like they slept in, so I got to wake up around 7:30, which is really late for me, and then I got to like come downstairs and like watch F1 qualifying in peace while like the kids played. It was just fantastic, so I'm actually having a really great morning.
Great, great, great. Glad to hear it. Actually, it's been I'm glad to hear some positive vibes with everything going on as we try to
Right,
maintain those positive vibes going
dude,
on.
this year is just like absolute dumpster fire.
I don't
Like
know
it
what you're
just
talking
keeps
about.
getting worse and worse. Like so I live in Vegas, and it's hotter than the surface of the effing sun here. It's so freaking hot every day. It's like 110, 115, whatever. It's like ungodly horrible. Um, so the other day we were just hanging out. We're like, it seems extra toasty in our house. I think something may be wrong. And turns out our air conditioner went out. Yay!
Oh,
And it is many, many thousands of dollars to replace an air conditioning in Las Vegas, as you
yeah.
probably know. So yeah, that's was and we've had it's worked for years and years and years and years, and then of course 2020 hits and just so
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. This year doesn't exist. I refuse to acknowledge the fact
yeah,
that this
can we
number,
just start
history
over?
books, that ancient technique of eliminating from the history books. Can we just
Mm-hmm.
do that?
Yeah.
But yeah, as you know, I also live in Vegas here as well, and I just walking my dog because I try to do it as early as possible. I'm quite literally one of those old people now that wake up at 5 a.m. solely for the purpose of walking my dog to avoid the extreme amount of heat
Yeah,
that is
if you don't
outside.
get out by 6 a.m., you're not going out. I
Yeah,
whenever I go for a run, if yeah, I leave around 6 these days, and
yeah,
yeah, like 86 is the max. If I get up and I look at my phone and the temperature's 86 outside, I'm like, okay, I have to go now because any higher than that, I will die. So
that's
yeah, that's been rough because I love going outside. I love going for runs and walks. Like I hate traditional exercise. Like I will not stand on a run on a treadmill or elliptical machine. Like I hate those. I have to force myself to go outside and run to a destination because then I'm forced to run back. You know what I mean? Like when you run somewhere, you can't just give up. Like what am I gonna do? Get to the park and then call an Uber? Like you have to get there and then you're forced to exercise the rest of the way to get home. Whereas if I'm on a treadmill or elliptical, I just give up. I'm just like, I don't want to do this anymore after 10 minutes. And I'm like, I'm just gonna go eat chips and watch Netflix. So exercise is like a really big part of my happiness and well-being. And when summer hits, I get reverse seasonal depression because I get sad when it's hot and I get happy when it's cold.
yeah.
So I'm just like a weird person like that. But yeah, the heat has been just
Well,
awful.
as somebody from the originally from the Pacific Northwest, like yourself, I would imagine that's kind of native to what you do. I guess you could
Yeah,
say because
I'm a weirdo. I love the rain and the clouds. Like when I wake up and it's a cloudy day, I'm just like, oh, I'm home. This is my home. It's like when I visited Ireland and Scotland and London, like the
nice.
weather over there was just like my vibe. I'm like, this is perfect. Whereas everybody else is like, it's so gray and dreary and rainy. I'm like, no, this is heaven for me.
I bet. I International travel has eluded me in these past couple of years. I've tried my best. Iceland has been something that I'm going to be trying to go to next year, so hopefully that kind of works out.
Is it
So,
because of the movie? Is it because of the Will Ferrell movie? You're like,
oh,
oh
we're not gonna.
yeah,
We're,
Eurovision. I
yeah,
gotta go.
yeah, kind of.
That
But
movie
also,
was awesome. I don't
wasn't
know.
it?
No,
Oh,
it's
you're just making one of my mods super had right now
it
because
is. It's so good.
I know
Dude, I love a movie that knows what it is. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
exactly.
It was exactly what it was trying to be, and
Uh,
I love it. It's great.
oh, trust me. In my chat, I actually have a meme because we have these commands that, like, if you spend a certain amount of channel points, and one of them is to play Ya Ya Ding Dong.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so, like, just the reference of that movie, it's just that one
Yeah,
made my
Katie
day.
Wilson turned me onto that.
Nice.
Like
Yeah.
Katie is when I was chatting with her on her channel, and she's like, "You gotta see it." She's like, "I've already seen it like 8 times or something." I'm like, "What?" But
I
yeah, no,
I've
it was
seen it a
amazing.
couple of times, but it's on my Spotify playlist pretty consistently. With the sing along specifically, it's gotten me more
I
educated
saw
on.
you in the nice and morning or something. I don't know. I've only seen it once, but that's all I
Yeah,
remember.
Volcano Man. It's ever forever embedded in my brain as far as Viking Will Ferrell from the beginning of that movie. Oh my god. Well, I guess one of the big subjects that I want to talk with you about is obviously the book, because you'll be pleased to know that I've not only read it once. Technically, I've read it twice because I've listened to the audiobook too.
Oh, you're so sweet. Oh my God, look at you. Thank
Yeah,
you. That
being
means a
pro,
lot. Thank you so much. You're so sweet. Oh, that makes me happy.
which chat, I've said it 4 or 5 different times. You need to go read this book because I'm just saying because the comparisons we've all been making is definitely Harry Potter in that fantasy driven area.
It's Harry
Um,
Potter meets Pokemon. That's what I tell
that's
everybody.
exactly what it is. And so I kind of want to I want to dig into your brain as far as your
Is that safe?
inspiration as I guess where the characters came from as far as where your inspiration for creating the novel came from. That's
Yeah,
all.
for sure. So, this is just my genre. It's my favorite genre. Ever since I was younger, these are the only types of books I was ever interested in. I would sit in the bookstore in the kids section of Barnes and Noble and just any book in the middle grade genre, not even young adult, because like when you get into YA novels, it's more the like vampire like romance and like the
Hmm.
angsty like love story, and like that never really resonated with me as a kid. I was always more interested in the adventure and the fantastical elements and the whimsical creativity, craziness,
Hold
and
on, I'm just trying to see if any Twilight fans are coming at my door in rage right now.
no, I don't no, that's fine for them. I'm saying just personally, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I'm not knocking them. I'm not knocking YA novels at all. Like I think there's a lot of great books in that genre. Just for me personally, I'm that's not the genre I'm going to pick. And it's actually silly because I'm an adult and I still read middle grade, you know what I mean? I shouldn't even be reading middle grade or YA. I should be reading like novels for adult people,
Yeah,
but I
Game of
don't. I like,
Thrones.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not gonna touch that. But no, middle grade has always resonated with me, and just kind of like the innocence of a child being thrown into a fantasy adventure that they have to prove themselves at such a young age. And I think that was kind of like the height of my like imagination, creativity, you know what I mean? Like when you're like 12 years old, 13 years old, I think that's when you're still innocent enough to think that anything can happen, and you know that you get what I'm saying.
There's hope.
So yeah, so I would just read any book I found that had dragons on the front and fairies and unicorns. That was just all the stuff I love. I could not get enough of that. And just through the years, starting at age 12, I kind of always had this idea of this story of Ash Ridley. It always kind of bothered me that so many of the books that I was reading, the protagonist was born special. Like Harry Potter and like Percy Jackson, you have these lead characters where they weren't just normal kids. They had a special power. They had something special in their history, their family, something that made them like the chosen one. And I never really liked that as much. I liked the main character to be like me, just like a regular normal kid, nothing special going on. and obviously like female, because there's a lot of male leads in these fantasy novels. um, so I always loved the concept of a kid befriending like a baby dragon or like a baby magical creature, and I was always drawn to the phoenix just because of the idea that it can be reborn. And so yeah, that just from the things that resonated with me as a kid, I kind of developed Ash Ridley and the Phoenix, of just a normal girl who becomes bonded to this really special magical creature, and she's having to, like, she's not the special one, like the bird is the special one, so everyone is fawning over the bird and he's the one who's getting all the attention, and she's like, I'm here too, like she
Yeah.
she has to prove herself and be as worthy as like this magical bird. And but on top of it all, I tried to keep it really funny. I just tried to keep that comedy element
Mhm.
through the whole thing and have wacky characters and do like bizarre voices and accents and just keep it just really fun, because at the end of the day, it's a kid's book.
Hmm. Absolutely. Well, I mean, I think everybody of all ages can enjoy it. Especially, I can resonate with that sense of comedy that you have with it, because it definitely, the characters, the way that you convey it over the audiobook is phenomenal. I must
Oh,
admit,
thank you.
first of all, and two, it's just you resonate so well with the main character and the cast that you voice so intricately is the word that I'm looking for, because you you the best way I could say it is the resonation goes with just your attention to detail to every single word that you say with the characters.
Oh,
And
shut up. You're so nice. Thank you.
well, I mean, I'm just speaking facts here if I'm being honest here, Lisa, but at the same
Well,
time,
as a writer, I don't know if it's narcissistic or selfish or what, but I think everything I've ever written, every story I've ever written has starred some version of myself.
yeah.
Because they say write what you know, and that's who I know. Like my
Hmm.
emotions, my feelings, the things that I've been through, that's what I'm going to pull from. If I were to write this story about a little boy, like I would have no idea what a little boy thinks and feels. Like this Ash is me in some way. The things she says, like the little inside jokes, like how she views the world, it's just me. And there's a couple screenplays I'm working on right now, and they star me. Like, not it's not the same exact character in every
Hmm.
story, but it's some version of me from at some point in my life, and something that I've persevered through. So yeah, so I like to think that Ash is me.
Yeah, absolutely. I respect that tremendously. I mean, I'm the same way in that writing technique. It's a matter of different approaches to the way that you view yourself as the character through the progress of the story. Now, a lot of people consider this kind of writing 101. When you wrote the book, did you have the end goal of the character, the ending, already plotted out before you even began the journey?
Sort of. So this is funny. This is actually one of the questions I've been asked the most, which I absolutely love. I even just the other day I got a DM from somebody asking me how I wrote the book, because they've been thinking about writing a book, and I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that, because I was so defeated and sad when I first started writing this book, because the first thing I did is I went on the internet and I Googled how to write a book. I know that's so silly, but it's true. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing something. I didn't want to dive in and get 100 pages into a story and then realize I was doing something wrong. I wanted to make sure from the beginning I had all the information on how to write a book before I started. And I just couldn't believe how like every article I found on the internet was written by like a wannabe author, or even an established author, or a literary agent, or somebody in the literary business. And every article started out the same. They were all just like, so you want to write a book? Well, it's probably not going to happen. You're probably not going to get a book deal because everybody wants one, and you have like one in a million shot. But anyway, if you want to still do it, here's my advice. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you're knocking people down right before they even start? Like, you're crushing these people's dreams. They're obviously reading your article because they're excited and they have this idea and they want to move forward and be creative, which is something we should all be supporting. And yet you're trying to knock them down. And it's not just that for books. I mean, you read articles about writing screenplays and pitching shows. I mean, it's all the same. I feel like you have these people are jaded, these who are writing these articles. Maybe they're jealous, or like they didn't make it or something, I don't know, but it's really screwed up. And so I just want to be as helpful as I can to everybody who has a book idea and wants to write it, because there's room for everybody. So like there's only a limited number of books that get published every year. All the books can get published. And if you don't get a book deal, you can publish it yourself. And some people find more success doing that than getting a book deal. I never got a literary agent. That was my goal. I wanted to get an agent, and then the agent would get me the book deal. No agent wanted to sign me. Even with my background, with my resume, with my platform, nobody was interested. I got no 100 times. And then I just ended up getting the book deal separately, which is another route you can go. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so back to your original question with the ending. I was just so paranoid about doing it right from the beginning that I actually used the first, I mean, after I did read all those articles about like, tips and tricks and stuff, but I used the first Harry Potter book as kind of a roadmap. Because I'm like, if I'm going to copy somebody, I'm going to copy the best. Not in terms of story, I mean in like length, chapter length, vocabulary, syntax, like everything that she did, she obviously did it right because it, so many people reacted positively to that story. And that was the exact demographic I wanted. I always thought it was the perfect length, like page numbers. So I wrote, like, I read it again. I read the first Harry Potter book again. I wrote down, words that she was using that I thought, like don't go more advanced than this word because kids won't understand that. Kind of a list of her vocabulary words that she would use and how many times she would like repeat herself. You know what I mean? Because I feel like if you have complicated story elements, kids kind of need to hear it again, and you need to kind of reiterate it as the story goes on. Whereas as adults read it, like it might be a little repetitive. You might be like, okay, I already know what's going on. Like stop, like But yeah. She needs to think about like, so here's what I'm dealing with in the story right now. Like kids need to kind of have their hand held a little bit. And so I really used that as a roadmap. And then once I kind of had an idea of how long I wanted it to be and how many chapters, I did a very, very in-depth outline. And I figured out, the act 1, act 2, act 3, kind of just coming from the entertainment industry and screenwriting, that I kind of put it into acts. I'm like, I need this to be the climax. I need this to be the first big event and this to be the ending. And, the ending I tossed around a whole bunch, but once it all kind of came together, that outline really gave me an A and a Z with a couple letters in between. And I just had to, connect the dots, and then I had my story. So anybody who wants to write a book, that is the biggest tip I can give you. Do not just sit down and start writing. You need to research, you need to outline, you need to be able to have, such a thorough outline that while you're writing it, you never get writer's block and you never hit like a stop sign while you're writing. You write and then you look at your outline. Okay, I need to get to that section. And then you write and look at your outline. You know what I mean? So I never ran into writer's block while I was writing the book because I already knew what I was going to write. So, yeah. There you go. Sorry, I rambled for like many minutes.
No, you're good. I mean, just hearing you being passionate on your insight and your research makes me all the more, I guess you could say, I don't feel as bad as the amount of work I'm putting behind what I'm doing. So
I researched for a year before I started writing.
Yeah.
Well, obviously mine was pretty in depth because I involved every mythical creature that's like ever existed.
Yeah,
I wanted to make sure that not only was I borrowing from folklore and legends from all over the world, that I was being respectful to them. And even though I would put my own spin on each one, they were still based in their original folklore, if that makes sense. I'm borrowing, it's just a melting pot. It's like Scottish folklore and like Norse mythology and Greek mythology, like everything is just all into one. And so that took a lot of researching.
Absolutely, because I mean, I would imagine with the amount of lore and detail and like amount of like source material out there on each individual character, you would have to like source through and kind of vet a lot of material for the
obviously
characters.
I started with Wikipedia with each one, but then I never trust Wikipedia, so then I had to research outside of that. So it was a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there. I think that's the beauty of it though, because it's just there's a lot of potential mythical standards that a lot of people keep to, like
and I knew that was gonna happen. I think I worried less about it because it's a kid's book. It's like this might be the first introduction that these kids have to these mythical creatures. So, I want to give them a little bit of truth, but I also want to keep it really fun. I don't want to give them a Wikipedia article in my book of what this creature is.
Yeah.
And it was also, so J.K. Rowling, like, I think she's amazing in what she did, how she created all of her mythical creatures from scratch, and they all have unique names. I chose not to do that because I have so many creatures in my book. I wanted kids to be able to read a name of a creature in my book and then be able to Google it and see kind of what it looked like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't want to have to try to, this is a flipply flop and it looks like this. And then you have 200 of those. Like, how are kids going to keep that straight? So it was really important to me that I was kind of using real fake creatures.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I appreciate you escaping because a lot of people don't know this when they watch the Fantastic Beast movie, that the source material for Fantastic Beasts is not an actual narrative. Basically, it is an encyclopedia for different types of mythical creatures and stuff like that.
Right.
So you took that approach, but you also expanded narrative and stuff like that as far as each creature that you brought into the story.
Oh, that's another thing I should talk about. And I think a lot of creative people suffer from this. And in fact, I'm working with a man named Emmett O'Brien right now on a screenplay. We're doing a project together. And he even mentioned a little bit of this in one of his other projects, how, so let me back up. So I was at the beginning, I think I was halfway through researching Ash Ridley, and I was getting my outline together when Fantastic Beasts was announced. And I was like, there was not a lot of information on it. It was kind of just like, this is like J.K. Rowling like signs a deal to do this movie. And just from what I was reading, it sounded exactly like my story. I'm like, the thing that makes my story unique is that it has, like I said, this melting pot of like every magical creature. And it's just like this world full, it really focused on the beasts, not necessarily, the characters. And that's like what it sounded like. It's like, this isn't going to be about Harry Potter and those characters. It's going to be all about like beasts. And I was like, that's exactly like my story. And I became super depressed for like weeks. I was so sad. I'm like, I'm putting so much work into this and it looks like it's going to be just like that. And then people are going to think I'm ripping her off, even though I started developing this before I even knew about it. And I look back now and I was like, I was being so silly. I mean, obviously Fantastic Beasts is radically different from my book, but I think I run into that all the time. And I think creative people do too. And we just need to stop it. It's like you get jealous of other people having kind of the same idea as you. And we just need to stop it because I truly believe there's room for everything. Even if your story is very similar to a blockbuster that just debuted, I think that if that idea was a blockbuster, it proves that people like that idea and that there's an audience for it. So don't be jealous of those ideas and don't let those kind of crush your imagination. Like, you just keep on trucking with your idea and it will find an audience. Like, don't ever be afraid that, your idea is too similar to other people's, because we live in a world where there's not really an original idea anymore. They've all been done.
There you go. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Original ideas are far and few in between. We're talking in 1 billion odds there.
Right.
But guys, for the record, if you're in chat right now, if you use exclamation point her book, it will actually link to the Amazon page detailing her audiobook and her physical book too. So go do that. Go buy it. Go read it. Go listen to it. I highly recommend listening to it because she does all the voice acting and stuff like that.
I can't see the people in the chat, so I just say hi for me. Hi people in the chat. I can't read what you're saying, but
you're good.
I assume you're nice.
I do have a question on the queue. We'll save that for a little bit later.
All right.
But I have a question for you, Lisa. I'm going to throw this one straight out of the rando sphere for you here.
Hit me.
Okay. So I love asking this people because they go into a lot more detail than they realize. So if you were to plop yourself into an existing RPG world, it does not matter if it's a video game, it does not matter if it's a board game specific to your preference. If you had to plop yourself out of our current reality, which is not a bad idea at the current moment, and you had to plop yourself into the middle of an existing RPG world, what would it be and why?
Oh, I've been thinking about this for like 15 years. This is not a new question to me.
Okay.
No, I would live in the Tri-Island area of the Monkey Island world.
Okay. Okay, left field
Because
me
it's
there
all
for sure.
swashbuckling and pirates and comedy and silliness, and who wouldn't want to live in that world? I've always wanted to live in the on the islands from Monkey Island. It's my favorite
Very
game
nice.
series, so like
Ve-
no brainer for me. Of course, I would want to live there.
Absolutely. It's kind of funny that you bring up pirates because one of the biggest games I play on stream right now is Sea of Thieves, which is like my biggest thing right
Yeah,
now to
people
play.
rave about that. People love that
Yeah,
game.
it's great. I recommend it. But let me match you with that question in regards to where I would plot myself in.
Yeah, tell me.
Obviously, based off of what you're curious about and what Chad is curious about right now, is definitely the Star Wars universe, specifically during the Galactic Empire.
It's too dangerous.
Eh,
You die immediately.
it depends because there's a matter of like I guess like an RPG, there's a matter of choices that influence it. Let's take Knights of the Old Republic as a grand example. The wrong choice, you're getting shot in the face with a laser, or you're going to become a grand politician in the grand empire of things and be successful. So it's a matter of making the appropriate choices.
Look, if you have that much confidence in yourself that you will not immediately get shot in the face with a laser, then by all means go live in the Star Wars universe. But there are some universes in games and movies that I absolutely adore, and hell no, I would not want to go there because I've met me, and I know that I'm not a fighter. In fact, I took boxing lessons for like 2 months, and the only thing I excelled at was running away. I'm not joking. The only thing I was good at in boxing was when we were in the ring and I had to keep distance between me and my opponent and not engage. He was just like,
Wow.
just keep backing up, just keep getting away. I was so good at that. But when it actually came to like the sparring and the punching and all of that, no, that's not for
Gotcha.
me. So I
Well,
need to go to a safe world where see the thing in Monkey Island is that it's not about sword fighting, it's about insult sword fighting. So as long as you're good at insulting people and being funny, that's how you win battles. I think I could survive in that world. But don't give me no laser guns. I don't want no blaster gun. I don't want any of that.
Well, it's funny because I wouldn't necessarily join in the galaxy far far away simply because of the fact of all the fighting and all the ruckus and all the chaos. It's a matter of I go in for the political. It's crazy that like I am so fascinated by the political sphere of the Galactic Empire and everything in that. It's like how much I dive into. I'm not a political person by any means.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But once I delve into, because like some of the most interesting characters for me are not even the Force dwellers, like Grand Moff Tarkin, Grand Admiral Thrawn, actually Senator Palpatine before we knew him as Sidious. Like just different kind of political backgrounds and watching them escalate to the positions that they are, because the whole book on Tarkin, my favorite series and character in Star Wars, is Grand Admiral Thrawn, and watching Timothy Zahn just work on that series through many years. I mean, it's one of the few adaptations that they brought back from Legends into canon. And so just seeing that come to fruition in the way that they tell it is just fascinating to me.
You're an odd person, and I love it, because I don't think I could meet a lot of people and be like, "What's your favorite thing about Star Wars?" and then be like, "Oh yeah, the politics."
Yeah, a lot of people don't, because
Especially not me.
yeah, a lot of people don't agree with it, and it's crazy because if you just the amount of reading and interest that I have as far as Grand Admiral Thrawn, because he's a logical thinker. He doesn't have force powers. He's just an alien. Who's incredibly tactical and logical in his decision making, and that appeals to me because that's just how I operate on a daily basis. And so just seeing that translate within the Star Wars universe in such a maniacal, yet it's like one of those classic scheming organ playing type villain movies, but he just does it so modernized. It's weird, and it's in a good way.
I see where you're coming from.
Yeah. But yeah, so two different worlds we choose from. You and your pirate world, and me and my galaxy far far away. So I guess you want to know about the things that you asked about as far as my Inquisitorius project.
Yeah, well, yeah. Let me know what your Star Wars project. I think I saw you tweet about it like a couple weeks ago or something that you were working on. It's like, is it a novel? What is it?
I'm just going to use the term narrative experience because just the way that I'm developing it is not just in a novel
Hmm.
classical writing edition. It appeals to a modern generation, so there's going to be bits and pieces that you look for all over the place that I'm piecing together. I want to keep it interesting and the people like kind of I can't say really interactive, but just kind of looking forward to like that next piece. It's
Hmm.
not going to come in like one big chunk of a story. Like
Are you
I
using like established characters, or are you coming up with your own, or a mixture of both?
see this is where we relate as far as the character that I'm writing. I see myself into this character, but in a very very dark way, the exact opposite. Because this is a very dark interpretation. It's not
Hmm.
your the chosen one hopeful type of story. The Inquisitorius is a very dark take on the Galactic Empire of Vader and Sidious using the resources of the Inquisitors
Hmm.
that were debuted a while ago in Rebels and they in the video game Fallen Order. You met them in more detail, but this is expanding upon their story, which is a very tragic story because I'm not going to spoil anything as far as the the Inquisitorius and stuff like that, but I will say the whole purpose of their existence is that they were Force wielders who were once upon a time either potential Jedi Knights, Padawans, people who just had Force abilities.
Hmm.
These are people who were molded and processed and programmed by the Empire to go and seek out the rest of the Jedi Order. And so this is detailing and expanding upon that story in a
That's cool.
very tragic way. And the main protagonist is an OC for me. And this is a little bit of a reveal. It's his name is Brother Prime.
Nice.
Yeah, so they
I
all
like
have
it.
their individual designations. Like we've met Sister Six, we've met Sister Nine, we've met this like we've met a bunch of different characters that have specific designations as an
Hmm.
Imperial tool would have. Am I right? So Brother Prime is a fallen Jedi master, specifically at the beginning of his storyline as a master. He was kidnapped and taken for processing, which he was ordered as an execution project. But he was brought onto the project into the Inquisitorius as like a personal project of the leader of the Inquisitors, and he like his ultimate goal was to break this Jedi Master who has been so in tune with the Force, and he's been trained and stuff like that to go through all these tortures and stuff like that. It was the Grand Inquisitor's personal goal to break him and mold him to his own individual tool. And so that's the main character of my story. And I will say that the origin story right now that I have teased so far on my Twitter is that during his processing, is that he has died 7 times during processing.
He's a cat.
Yeah, well, they keep reviving and like they keep going at it over and over and over again. And so it's going to be a fun detailing all the side effects due to that as well.
Yeah, that
As
sounds
is,
fun. Have you been a Star Wars fan your whole life?
yes, that is
Yeah,
probably
I assume.
one of my biggest fandoms as a child. My father introduced it to me. James Earl Jones is a major icon to me.
Yeah,
I still
that's
have
so
all of the
cool.
original VHSs. Like I can go on for days about as
Are
far
you
as
hoping to release this online? Is it something you're gonna try to sell? Do you
so
know the outlet yet?
like you, I'm playing the law of averages in regards to working with a publishing company, but seeing that it's with Star Wars, you can only go through select individual routes
Right.
because Lucasfilm takes pride in
Oh
their
yeah, super
IP,
protective. Yeah.
especially right now in the midst of everything going on with transitions and stuff like that. But it's people are open to it. It's just a matter of being so dark in tone. We're talking.
Right.
I'm literally comparing this like the Game of Thrones of Star Wars. It's not a happy
Yeah.
story. It's not. It's not. And that's how I intended it. It's a very tragic story by nature. And
Yeah.
so um that's where my plan comes to play as far as like I already have an ending in place, like a
Mhm.
set ending for this character. And now I'm just working on the letters from A to Z at this point.
Well,
So
very
it's
cool. Oh my gosh, that sounds cool. It sounds like you have a lot of work ahead of you.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
going to be interesting. I'm working with a 3D designer right now to actually get a 3D detailed image of my design of, or
Oh,
how
that
I
would be
picture
great. Yeah,
of
just to
Brother
be able to
Prime.
like look at it while you're writing, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That can help so much. I know I sketched a lot of stuff for my
Hmm.
book and I can't draw for shit. So
Well, yeah.
I think in my video, I think one of my videos like I showed a screen cap or like a picture of one of my like doodles is just terrible. But I definitely found like images online that were as close to like the Phoenix as
Yeah.
possible, like as close as I imagined it, and then kind of like would glance to it as I was writing because like visual really helps me. So yeah, that's a really cool idea that you're doing that.
Yeah, it's just the way that I could just, if you can visualize just a mirror image of me just scarred up, kind of like faced up, but with the dark sinister eyes of it, like
Why don't you just cosplay as it and then do a photo shoot?
that's, well, I
You
mean,
should.
it's crossed my mind, but at
Get
the
a
same time,
makeup artist. No, get a makeup artist and get a costume designer and just hire. There's tons of freelancers around Vegas. Like do that and then do a photo shoot and then you have your actual self to use as reference.
right? It's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Well, yeah, that's kind of the general idea, without giving away too much as far as what I'm
Well,
working on
cool.
with
That's
Star Wars.
awesome. God, I love people being creative and
Yeah,
you know.
a lot of people don't try to take a dark right with Star Wars. I mean, there are tragedies, obviously. I mean, we're talking about the Skywalker saga by nature is a tragedy at heart, if we're being honest here. But a lot of people don't take it into the extreme darker routes that I have
Right.
planned for the characters involved in the Inquisitorius. Um, but yeah, I'm excited for it as well. Just the structuring of it is the most difficult part because, like I said, it's not your traditional narrative. This is a new type of narrative experience that I want to piece together. That's something a little bit more original to the content of modern.
Do you have an
era.
ending goal date this year, next year? Do you know?
Where, as of right now, I'm having a complete release like schedule by early 2021.
Okay, cool. That's right around the corner.
Yeah, so I'm looking
Get to work.
Right.
Took me 3 years to write my book, and then like
well, like
6 years
you,
to release it or whatever. I don't even remember.
like you, I've had this in the back of my head for a long time, ever since like we're talking probably 6 to 7 years. But I just never really, I never was truly motivated to make a move on it until like a couple years ago to try to.
I think that's great. I think it's so important that like if you come up with an idea when you're younger, I think it's so great to try to execute that when you're an adult and you're mature enough to put it on paper, because obviously something sparked your curiosity so intensely that story has stuck with you for so long that means something. That means that could also resonate with other people. So I mean, that's why I decided to write this story, is because it was my favorite story to daydream about when I was a kid. So I'm like, I'm not alone here. I know that there are other 12-year-olds that would also really like this. So I almost felt this duty, like my 12-year-old self, to like pass this on to other little girls so that they could enjoy it just the way I did. So I think that's great.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's incredible. That it's such a welcoming new fresh take on a fantasy novel. So I really do appreciate you just throwing that out there for the world to enjoy.
Look at us on all our writing stuff and being creative.
Right?
Stuff.
Well,
we're amazing.
We got about 5 minutes left up here, so I'm gonna go ahead and quick shoot you guys. If you guys have any questions for Lisa or myself, feel free, but specifically for her, because you know you can ask me.
Hit me.
Yeah. So I will go ahead.
Makeup still look good? Okay. I'm looking at a title thumbnail. I'm like, I have no idea what I look like right now.
No, you're good. You're great. You're great. And your recent return to a full redhead.
Gallery view. See, look, I know how to use Zoom. Now we're even. I was looking at a giant picture of you, and I was like way up there. But now look at. Wait, if you turn that way, it's like we're talking to each other. Hi, what's up?
Oh, hi.
Oh, hi.
Oh yeah, my email quote to you when we talk through emails. Hello there.
Hello there.
Yeah, give me your best General Grievous impression right now. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's it.
Well, where's our questions?
Okay, so the one question I have queued up for you right now, it's I'm kind of curious about it too, to be perfectly honest with you. It is from, if I can read his name correctly, Wonderlay. Hi, Time and Lisa. Question for Lisa: how come you stopped Bag of Chips podcast?
Yeah, so that was really sad. We were having a really, really fun time with that. But as you guys know, like I'm a mom and I'm also a freelancer. So all of my work just comes unexpectedly. And Drew, my co-host, was the same way. He was a producer and he never knew when new jobs were going to come along. He had a pretty steady gig for a long time, and that's why, like, and so did I. Like, we both seem to have pretty like settled schedules, if that makes sense. We're like, let's start this new endeavor, it'll be so much fun. And then we really got into it and we started as really establishing like our sound and like who we were and what we like to talk about and like our rapport. And then both of our schedules just like exploded.
Mm-hmm.
So he like got another job and like he was super swamped, and then like he didn't have enough time with his kids, so he wanted to spend more time with his kids, and then I had a whole bunch of jobs rolling in, so I couldn't do it on a regular basis. So like sadly we just like we felt so bad because we were having so much fun and we were only like 10 episodes in or something like that, maybe even less. And we put a lot of effort into it, and we put our like heart and soul into that podcast.
Yeah.
And then we just had to end it, and we were kind of so like embarrassed in a way that we had to end it so quickly because it's such a stigma with podcasts, like
Mm-hmm.
everybody has a podcast and everybody's podcast lasts about 10 episodes and then they all go away.
Yeah.
It's always just like you and your buddies, hey, let's like drink beers and like talk about stuff we like and we'll just make it a podcast and we'll be effing famous like Joe Rogan. And everybody does that. And
Are we day
everybody lasts a
drinking
couple
right now,
episodes.
Lisa?
No, I'm not. Sadly, it's a straight podcast. But like,
Yeah.
and everybody does it. Everybody has their podcast, and then it fizzles out. And we just didn't want to do a big like apology and like final episode, and like so we just kind of let it disappear. And then we've been kind of addressing people one by one who come to us and like, hey, what happened to your podcast? It's like, okay, like I'll reply to that person and kind of tell them what happened, but it's not anything exciting. It's just scheduling differences.
Well,
We had
there it
problems
is.
and we couldn't keep doing it. So maybe one day like we'll do it again because we had such a good time. But
Well, if you need
yeah,
any help
it's not happening anytime soon.
with it,
Yeah, hey, that's a pretty good idea. Hit you
I'm
up.
just saying. Just saying. Talk nerdy is talk. Well, I can't say talk nerdy. Talking nerdy. It's a thing. It's a thing. Maybe we'll explore it as we go throughout. But yeah, I mean, there it is on video if you ever want to reference it to anybody who asks.
I know. Sorry, guys. We were having a really good time with it, and it was a really fun outlet for me. We were doing it on like, at night. After all kids went to bed, and we were just like, yeah, we would like have a drink and talk about '90s stuff. And like we got the best thing about the podcast was that Drew and I were so radically different. We had such different opinions on things, and so I would just like let him have it if I thought he was wrong. You listen back on some of these episodes, and I'm sure I was like, I came across as kind of mean, but I was really just, ridiculing him and just, but I thought some of his opinions on 90s stuff were just like so wrong, and he thought my opinions were so wrong. And I think that's what like made it fun, is that we were just, jabbing at each other the whole time.
That makes it for the best conversations.
Yeah.
It's an actual like clashing of ideals, especially.
Yeah, we rarely agreed on stuff.
Yeah, especially if all your ideas on 90s Nickelodeon were completely wrong anyways.
All right, okay, so I'm gonna leave you alone.
No, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about him.
Oh, okay,
yours is
sorry,
right.
him. I'm like,
we have
come at me, man.
we have same opinions because we have a same artistic mindset when it comes to those types of situations.
You're on Team Lisa. I like it.
Yeah, 100%. Now I guess last chance, guys. Last chance for questions, by the way. So I'm gonna give this opportunity for like a little speed rush questions coming from the mind of somebody who is an incredibly nerd, because this is gonna be an interesting little quick shoot of questions. Okay, so what I mean by that is I'm gonna give you a little bit of a challenge in these. So I'm gonna hit you with a very basic question. Don't worry, they're not gonna be extreme because
no math. There's a single math question. I'm signing off.
Well, no, that's not the point. These are very basic, kind of like opinionated questions, but at the same time, it has to be. You have to give me an answer within 5 seconds.
Oh God. Okay. I love these like these. What are they, like lightning rounds or fast bag, like whatever? My brain doesn't work that fast. Okay, hit me. All right.
Before I start that, there's another question, and here's a big one. Chivo asked, "Is there going to be a potential sequel to Ash Ridley and the Phoenix?"
Yes, so I planned one out, and I was actually already kind of outlining it when my first book deal was going on, because I was so excited about it, and I was like, oh, I want to continue the story, and now it feels like Ash is actually going somewhere, so I want to be ready with a sequel in case I get the chance to do that. And so I'm hoping so. I just don't have time to do it right now. I mean, like I said, when I first wrote it, I didn't have kids. Like, I could do whatever I wanted, and I didn't have a lot of scheduling conflicts, and I could just sit on my couch and like write for 6 hours. Like, I'm that type of person. Like, I can literally, if I have creative juices flowing, I can just sit down for hours and hours and hours and not take a break and just write. And that's kind of how I operate, and I can't really do that anymore.
Yeah.
So if
Wow.
I were to write the sequel, which is planned, and it's really cool, and that there's like 2 unanswered questions in this book, and I feel like I have great answers for those for the sequel. I would literally have to just like take a vacation to a remote island or somewhere crazy and just sit and write and not be bothered. And that doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon, especially now. So yes, sequel coming one day. I don't know, guys. I hope I can find the time.
I hope too. I'm just saying, because I would love. I know exactly those questions that you're talking about.
It's such a good reveal for who, the former master is. It's so good.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be great. I hopefully, Iceland's a great remote place you can go, right?
Wait, what?
I'm saying Iceland's a great place to remote yourself.
Oh, Iceland. Oh, okay, I didn't hear that. I think it was like Slid or something. Yeah, I would love to. Let's go to Iceland.
Straight up. Oh, hot springs for days. All right. Well, okay. So last thing's gonna be those quick shot questions. Okay.
Okay.
So the first one is, you ready?
Yeah.
Favorite movie?
Big Fish.
Favorite musical artist?
The Killers.
Okay.
I think.
All right. We have favorite restaurant in Vegas.
There's, I forget what it's called, Balboa Pizza over by Green Valley Ranch.
Oh, nice. Skinny Fats
boring,
here.
but...
Sorry.
I've never been there. I hear it's good.
It's the type of food that you go to that just makes you fat.
But it's supposed to make you skinny. Skinny fat.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Sure. And on that note, favorite type of wing sauce?
I like the honey barbecue. Or Parmesan garlic. That's the best one.
Parmesan garlic? Okay. So
garlic Parmesan.
You're a beat-ups person. Okay, I see how it is. So and
boneless. I don't like dealing with the bones and wings. I will not.
No, that's the thing we disagree on.
They're basically chicken nuggets, I understand. But what am I? Why do I want to get all messy? I'm not a freaking caveman. Like, give me a fork and knife.
The marrow adds flavor, though.
Sure, it does.
The marrow adds flavor.
Okay, it also gets trapped in my teeth, and I'm just not interested.
Oh goodness! All right, and here comes one for you, Lisa.
Okay.
Favorite '90s Nickelodeon show?
Rocko's Modern Life.
Be still my beating heart. Jesus Christ.
So good.
So good.
Angry Beaver is a very close second.
Okay.
I feel like Rocko barely edges it out.
Yeah, I would have to say Doug was the second one for me. So. Yeah, I was just the one that was on anytime that I would go home, because I was part of so many after school stuff like marching band and stuff like that. And when I got home and the TV came on, Doug was on. So
yeah, and then Disney bought it and ruined it, and we're all just like, "What did you do to
Doug?" Yeah, and
you made it sleep longer.
And the Hey Arnold
notice.
And then Hey Arnold movie that never happened.
Hey Arnold, a lot of people agree with me on this, that Hey Arnold was such a good show, but I feel like very rarely does anybody say it's their favorite show. It's always just kind of like a show that was on, and then you would always sit and watch it, but you didn't really seek it out, and it wasn't really your favorite, but it was always just comfortable, and it was always just on.
Yeah, see,
that's how I feel about it.
That and Rugrats was that.
And Rugrats too. Rugrats, same. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was just always on. I feel like that was the Golden Child and stuff like that. It was just Rugrats was just on.
I liked Rugrats. I wasn't a huge Rugrats fan, but I would watch it if it was on, but I would
Yeah.
never like seek it out. I'd never be like channel search and be like, oh, Rugrats on, let's watch that.
Yeah. Now, if we're talking like some legacies, Wild Thornberries was so good. I just Rocket Power.
Oh, hold on. I have to show you something. Say that.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Okay. I don't know
Nice.
if I've ever showed anybody this, but I found this the other day. I was going through my boxes. So this was given to me, I think, at the Wild Thornberries premiere. It was either given to me at the Wild Thornberries movie premiere or as a prize in my big trunk for the Kids' Choice Awards. Because when you win a Kids' Choice Award, they give you like this big gift basket, and mine was in like a trunk, like an actual like trunk, travel trunk, just full of toys, full of toys and like gift certificates and like anything. Like, you won a Kids' Choice Award, like here's all these presents. And I think this may have been in it. It's like one of the Russian doll like things, and it's like hand painted, super cool. So we got Darwin
That's
and
so
Liza Thornberry.
cool.
We've got
It's like
Nigel,
a Russian doll.
Nigel, and I forget the mom's name. Do you remember the mom's name?
No
Mom?
idea. Not a yeah. No.
And then Debbie, right? Debbie
Yeah,
is name?
Debbie.
Debbie is this one, and then the tiny little one is, who do you think?
I can never remember.
It was the only character we haven't said. Johnny.
Yeah, the wild child. That's all I could think of. Yeah. But that's super cool.
Yeah, I
It's
found
like
this the other day, and it's way cool. Like I don't know how many of these were made, but it says like made in Russia. So
Russian doll. Nice. That's super cool. You also need to let me look through the ever secret kaleidoscope within a Nick Award. I'm just saying.
all right, stay there.
I
That's the on hold music. All right, are you ready? Let's see if I can line this up.
I don't. Oh, that's so cool! You can see it. Okay.
I'm bad at this.
No,
Okay,
it's
wait,
working.
Down is up. Okay, wait, hold on. If I hold it right there. This is difficult. This is really challenging.
Yeah,
Okay, wait, no, left is right and right is left. Okay, anyway.
It's like those old projector machines where we were in high school. You tried to use that. Left is right, right is left. You know, when you were doing projects for
exactly.
English.
Turn right to go left, as Lightning McQueen would say, or Doc Hudson.
Or driving in London.
So yeah, there's my Kids' Choice Award. Sean,
Yeah.
like my husband, likes to keep it next to his computer, so whenever he's on like Zoom meetings with his coworkers, he'd be like, "Oh, here's my Kids' Choice Award, just hanging out." And they're like, "That's not yours." He's like, "No."
Yeah, absolutely.
Favorite team.
That's super cool. That's so cool. And it's super cool to see you back on the show too.
Yeah, it's
Lasagna.
funny because I was only supposed to be in 2 episodes, but it looks like I'm in 3 because of the way that they're chopping it up.
Mhm.
So I was in the lasagna cooler sketch, and then the Stranger Things sketch was just put online. So I don't think it's aired on TV yet, but now it's on YouTube, where I play Joyce.
What's that?
For like 2 seconds, and then there was another sketch I did that was like a single camera. It's one of the only like single camera sketches that All That did this season, and I think that's going to be in another episode. So I thought I was only going to be in 2 episodes. Looks like I'm in 3. Woo! Cool.
That's super cool. I'm excited to see you back. I mean, it's just it gives a refined taste, and like they appreciate the old stuff.
Yeah, I was really honored that they asked me back. I was not expecting it, and I wasn't like butthurt when I didn't hear from them. You know what I mean? Like I was just, it was so cool when I saw they were reviving the show. I'm just like, this is great. This is like, it gets to be introduced to a whole new generation of kids because it meant so much to me when I was younger. So I was just like super stoked that it was coming back. I didn't even care about them, like, bring me back, like respect your elders. Like I didn't really care about that. So it was very unexpected when they did call, and I was really thankful. So cool.
That's super cool. Like now seeing that, like anytime that I get confused on Twitter, I know exactly what GIF I need to use.
What do you do? What is the line?
Tell me what to do.
Tell me what to do. Yeah.
Classic acting style right there. It was grand.
It's so over the top, and that was
Yeah.
like, I love having lines like that because when you're on the set and you have these things called run-throughs, after you rehearse all day, they have what's called a run-through, and they bring all the writers and all the producers and like the heads of Nickelodeon, like everybody gathers and watches you do each sketch. It's like life, it's theater at that point because you can't mess
Mhm.
up. You can, but you're not supposed to. and
We're
so,
we're not
like,
gonna relive those days.
well, I just love having lines like that because it can just be like, the sketch, and then cut to Lisa, and I'm just like, tell me what to do, and then I just get like a giant laugh from the whole crowd. So I love getting good lines like that.
Instead
So
of screaming line at somebody, that's what you need to scream at somebody.
yeah.
Well, we are pretty much on the hour marker, a little over time that I expected, but I'm gonna give this your shot of just telling my chat and anybody who is here, tell them what you have going on, as the hot ones line would like to say. If this is your red carpet, or
Well,
as the orange carpet.
thank you. Yes, orange carpet. I would just please ask anybody in the chat to please buy my book or the audiobook. It was really unfortunate that I worked on this for like 4 or 5, 6 years. I can't remember when I started, but like it's about 6 years. And the fact that it all came together and my book released during a pandemic. So I didn't get to do book tours and I didn't get to go to schools, even though I had all of that scheduled, and I had it all lined up, and it all got canceled. So I was supposed to go to schools and like talk to actual like children, like the demographic of my book, and like pour my heart out and give them advice and just kind of help inspire them. And I didn't get to do any of that. So I ended up, I'm having to rely completely on social media to try to get people to buy my book, and more importantly, buy it for a child of that age range, between like 8 and 14. That's like the sweet spot. So if you have a young reader in your life, like please pick up this book for them. There's different pricing all over the internet. It's on Amazon Prime. There's the audiobook. You can get a signed copy through Premier Collectibles. So yeah, I'm just so passionate about it. It's a huge accomplishment for me. I'm really proud of myself that I did it. I'm not one that gets proud of myself very easily. I usually beat myself down. Yes, isn't the cover so beautiful? Oh my god, it's so beautiful. So yeah,
You see my favorite part?
I'm proud of it, and if you could pick it up, that'd be great.
That little art at the back is one of my favorite things.
Isn't it cool? They sent me that last minute. It was right, but it was right before it went to printing, and they're like, "Hey, like, what do you think about adding like this page to it?" And I was like, "That's awesome. Put it in."
That's really cool. Dope. Yeah. That's amazing. Well, guys, I just linked it in chat again as far as the Amazon page leading to all of the details for her audiobook, all of her the physical book itself. And
if you do read it, please leave me a review. That'd be awesome. Yes. Give me like a nice review. Well, Don't be like, this sucks. Just keep that to yourself.
I'm lacking on that, so I'm gonna go do that. And so as somebody who is a huge supporter of it myself, I've spoken about it many times on stream, because it like I have this little table behind the camera's kind of angled, but people ask me like, what's this book sitting behind me, because it's always behind there.
Because so I don't sweet.
I don't have
I'm
many.
set dressing for your chat. I love it. Perfect.
Well, I don't own many physical books unless they're like Star Wars books and stuff like that. So, I mean, my physical copies of Harry Potter were burned when about 15 years ago. That's a story.
You just got really mad and you're like,
it was an accident, unfortunately. I actually had an original copy of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone when it was an English debut, before it was rebranded in America as the Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah.
So it was the Philosopher's Stone. And so that was an unfortunate loss, but I don't own many physical copies of books anymore, so the fact that I bought her books speaks volumes of the fact of how much I enjoyed not only this woman, but also her material and content. She is a wonderful friend of mine, so if you support me as well, please go buy her book, because
I narrated the audiobook. I'm sure you heard that earlier, but I did the whole thing, and I did like voices and accents and all sorts of crazy stuff. So if you prefer audiobook, I think it's a really entertaining one. I don't just read it straight like a lot of authors. Like, I perform it. So
yeah, that's the thing I was just about to say, because the audiobook, she performs everything, and actress mentality of all the fine details that she puts into her audiobook and everything like that. And I've also linked all of her socials, her YouTube and stuff like that. Everybody go spam her so we could do another top 5 video. Anyways, I don't know what I just said. So anyways, Lisa, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on. Perhaps one day we could play some video games together because that is my forte of life. So we'll see what happens. Maybe
Awesome. Well,
well,
thank you for having me. This has been great.
yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, everybody say bye to Lisa. Lisa, you
Bye,
have
Rachel.
yeah.
Oh, not me. Okay.
I love the background, by the way. All that, just saying, big bold circle in the back. So
it's part of the stage. It
all
was
right.
it was in the stage from the show, so I like to keep it on the wall because like
Absolutely.
every musical guest we ever had stood on that. So I'm like, ah,
That's
here in my
amazing.
house.
That's incredible, actually. Wow. All right, Lisa. Well, you have a great rest of your day.
See you later.
Stay
Yeah,
in,
you too.
stay in the and stay out of the heat.
Don't tell me
Literally,
twice.
my
I ain't going
air
outside.
just went off, and I am wearing this. So
Why are you wearing that?
because it's my lucky hoodie. Okay, it's got space on it. It's got space.
It's got space, you guys.
It's got space. It's the Milky Way. All right.
I like it. All right.
Bye, Lisa.
Okay.
Have a good
Bye.
day.
Thanks for having me.
Bye. Oh, goodness gracious. That was a lot of fun. Well, guys, there you have it. We were an hour into the conversation. That was incredible. That was fun.